people have really wanted to be here and aren't here. So this tells a story. How many people managed to turn up at relatively short notice. But firstly, some welcome. John, our John, if I can say that. It's fantastic, John, that you're here with Cherry and with the family. Welcome to Joe and Mark and Kern and Frank and Kareem and Laura. Where's Laura? Kern, sorry. And Laura and and Lakeisha. And Emily's not here, but she's here in spirit, I'm quite sure. So thank you very much, all of you, for coming. It's really an exciting opportunity for all of us to be together, the professional family and the family.
I feel very rude sitting down all the time. So this is my little bit of standing up to welcome you all. I'm absolutely overwhelmed. When Gail said she was organising this, I didn't expect this. I thought 30 or 40, but Gail said 100, and yeah, I'll be overwhelmed during this day. I know I will. But thank you all so very much for coming.
Thank you, John. I don't know quite where to start. There's so many places where one could start. I also want to thank for coming Sheila McNamee. Thank you. It's really special that you're here. And John Burnham. And we have Jim Wilson somewhere around, guitar and all. And Justine van Loick. Where's Justine? Somewhere. Thank you. And who else is on the programme who's actually here? Sorry, I'm now being rude. Jenny Helene, and Lisa Kaba. And there's somebody else as well. Robert. Robert, I'm afraid, is part of the PDSP furniture. He doesn't, I'm afraid, well, he should have a special mention. Everybody should have a special mention. This day is very much hosted by the Professional Doctorate in Systemic Practice here at the University of Bedfordshire. And that's an important connection, really, with John's work, because John was one of the two people, along with Peter Lang, who really designed the Professional Doctorate in Systemic Practice at KCC. And it has John's hallmarks all over it. It's alternative methodology, it's resistance to the mainstream, it's permissions and invitations to rethink relationality and what counts as research and what counts as knowledge, and to offer confidence for people to situate themselves in a fresh paradigm, in a new way of being, in a new way of learning and producing knowledge. So there are many of us here who have either done that programme or studied with you in another context, or who are doing that programme, where I think we feel a great debt of gratitude to your creativity and courage and innovation.
My second little bit of standing up. Let me just add, though, that I remember Peter Lang saying, well, if people can do doctorates in dance and music, and it's not sort of theory-based, but is practice-based, surely they can do the kind of doctorate that we were thinking of. So Peter's initial vision was there too. I just wanted to add that.
And it's nice to remember Peter Lang today as well. I'm sure he's here in spirit, however that happens. I remember there was one day when I was at KCC many years ago doing my training in the early 90s there, and suddenly there was a guest. John Burnham was my tutor at the time, and suddenly there was a guest for the day, and it was John Shotter, and I was interviewing a family. Oh my God, I was so nervous. At some point, John became part of the reflecting team and talked with this person, and took it completely outside of what I probably was trying to practice at the time. A certain version of being and doing good therapy, being a good therapist, following certain ways of talking. And John came in the room and did another kind of direct talk, stepped completely outside of reflecting team mode, and just did a direct talk with a conversation with this man who'd come for therapy. That was one of my first meetings, but I suppose my first meeting was really with John through that wonderful chapter on the social accountability of you in texts of identity. And when I think about the words in that chapter, it still absolutely gets me in the stomach, because it was life-changing for me to understand or be invited into a way of framing how we relate and how we're constructing each other. So John has contributed hugely to systemic social constructionism, and I don't need to say more about that. There are many ways in which I could remember John's contribution in my life to date. Sending papers, holding book covers up at the Skype, some nods around the room of recognition here. You might find this interesting. You might find this interesting. And in fact, John's got another book coming out at the moment, his own book. On the back of the programme, you'll see it's called Speaking, actually, towards a new, fluid, common sense understanding of relational becomings. And that's out next week or the week after, on the 18th of October. You'll find it on Amazon then. And it'll be available for pre-order by the middle of next week. So John, congratulations on your next book. And in fact, there's also been a Festschrift for John, a book published by Tim Cook, we won't mention Routledge, Tim Corcoran and John Crombie, who've edited this book, and fantastic contributions from some of the people here in this room. So again, another kind of celebration of John's work. A programme is really just a programme. It's a sort of a starting point, if you like, a bit like some of the discussions we've been having between the notion of planning and preparing. And of course, when one makes a programme, one has an idea one's making a plan. And then something random happens, like John's dog running off with a bit of paper the other night when Sheila and I were visiting. And Marley, the dog, said, "Oh, has he got something important there?" "Well, sort of," says John. "It's just a few things I'm planning to read out on Saturday." Okay, so the programme really, in any case, should be fluid. We're both in the modernist domain of needing some kind of structure to get through a fixed time period, but also wanting there to be some fluidity so this can feel like a human event, so that this can feel like a meetings, a space for meetings and for talk. So we've tried to alternate the videos and some talk. There are some videos being shown at lunchtime in one of the upstairs rooms, we'll tell you which, and the three videos being shown at lunchtime for those of you who want to see them, and they'll probably be on YouTube afterwards, by Jaco Sekela, Arlene Katz, and some woman from Argentina whose name's Fran? Adela Garcia, and colleagues. I just want to show you a couple of pictures, actually. This is really indulgent, but John's first book was called Images of Man, in psychological research, John?
Yeah.
What do you think of this picture? I mean, wow. I just love it, and I love some of the kind of references you can pick up there about where John's theory was at the time. I mean, what was it, 1975 or something?
Yeah. blurb is missing out.
Yeah.
I remember the blurb says it promised to discover the nature, our nature, but it hasn't. It has only discovered our similarities to rats, telephone exchanges, and computers. We have similarities to rats, telephones and exchanges, but we still don't know what actually it is to be a person. That's what that blurb says, something like that.
I felt attracted to only putting part of it up there, partly because I just wanted to privilege that image. I have to confess, and it sounds really crass, that when I saw this, I thought, oh my God, John was young once. And it was quite a bit like a child sometimes thinks about their parents. And anyway, and then what's next? Oh, of course, you know, on the one hand, we think about, most of us think about John as a philosopher, as a critical thinker and a writer, but actually John's done so many other things. And I think Sheila will allude to some of them. But I went to this actually quite dull conference with some of my colleagues in Stockholm a few years ago, a Bakhtin International conference, but one of the good things that came out of it was that they simply had found the original transcript by the stenographer of Bakhtin's Viva. So I sent it to John, who, and I said, would you like to perform the role of Bakhtin in his own Viva at the Bedfordshire International Systemic Winter School coming up in a few months? And of course, John was totally on the case. He got back to me and told me how many words per minute everything would take and what it needed to be edited down to. And he said he edited it and directed, and here what you see on the screen is some of the Prof Doc students who are in the room today. Patrick, Agneta, Leah, Helen, and Anne Rubens isn't here, and Matthew Gander, who isn't here today. But there's John talking to the audience, telling them, introducing them to Bakhtin's Viva, its significance. And it was a wonderful evening, a wonderful special occasion, with John acting the part of Bakhtin in his own Viva. And I just chose a couple more pictures. So this is, of course, another younger John. But apparently it's from, is this from your Dram days, your amateur dramatics?
Yes.
So what a stunning young man, and how interesting to see him dressed up in these ways. And thank you, Mark, for sending through some of these pics. I was very restrained in which ones I managed to kind of choose. And these are just some very quick snapshots from the winter school. I don't know how clear they really are at the back, but if you just, there's 4 of them, please, and just to give you a quick idea of some familiar poses of John as I see him. I'm sure you've all got your own stories and images of John. 2 more pics. This one is the first one that you'll recognise. This is our John, the thinker, the contributor, the participant, the observer, the imagining, finding all those cracks and spaces in between our everyday descriptions that we haven't yet filled. And finally, can you see that at the back? Yeah. So, we're into the next stage of the programme. We'll leave that on the screen for the moment. And the day will happen. It will emerge. Thank you.